guys! Welcome to my class. Our topic for today is about graph on the coordinate plane. You are going to learn it here, the easy way. In case you are new to my channel, please subscribe so that you will be kept updated on the next math lesson. Then, like and share so that you can also help other students. We are going to learn today how to graph ordered pairs, and we are going to graph reflections on the coordinate plane. Let us recall what is a coordinate plane. A coordinate plane is a two-dimensional plane formed by the intersection of a vertical axis, which is the y-axis, and the horizontal axis, which is the x-axis. I labeled the axis here. The vertical axis is the y-axis, and the horizontal axis is the x-axis. The intersection of the two lines, which is point 0, 0, is called the origin. Any point on the coordinate plane are points of the ordered pair. The first number on the ordered pair is called the x-coordinate. And the second number is the y-coordinate. Let us work on this example so that you can recall how to graph points on the coordinate plane. Let us graph point F at 3.5 and negative 4.5. As I told you before, we are going to start always at the origin. Then, from the origin, we are going to move 3.5 units to the right because the x-coordinate is positive. Since the y-coordinate is negative 4.5, we are going to move down. Accordingly, we will move 4.5 units down. And that is point F, where the ordered pair is 3.5 and negative 4.5. We have already learned how to graph ordered pairs. It is easy, right? Now let us move how to graph reflections on the coordinate plane. I want you to remember that if the reflection is across the x-axis, we are going to keep the x-coordinate. Remember that? Then, we are going to take the opposite of the y-coordinate. However, if the reflection is across the y-axis, we are going to keep the y-coordinate. And we are going to take the opposite of the x-coordinate. So that you're going to remember the key points on reflections. If the reflection is on x-axis, keep the x-coordinate and take the opposite of the y-coordinate. Accordingly, the points will either move up or down. Nevertheless, if the reflection is on y-axis, we're going to keep the y-coordinate. We're going to take the opposite of the x-coordinate. Therefore, the points will move either left or right. Let us work on this example so that you will be guided. Graph point J, which is 5 and 3. Then, graph its reflection across the x-axis. If we are going to get the reflection across the x-axis, we are going to keep the x-coordinate. So, starting from the origin, we will move 5 units to the right. Since the y-coordinate is positive 3, we will move up 3 units up. And we can graph the ordered pair of point J, 5 and 3. Accordingly, we're going to get the opposite of the y-coordinate. The opposite of 3 is negative 3. Therefore, we will move 3 units down. And the reflection of point J, 5, 3 is 5 and negative 3. It is easy, right? If the reflection is across the x-axis, we're going to keep the x-coordinate and take the opposite of the y-coordinate. Let us work on another example so that you can practice more. Graph point J with the ordered pair of 5 and 3, then graph its reflection across the y-axis. We're going to have the same point, but this time the reflection is across the y-axis. If the reflection is across the y-axis, remember, we're going to keep the y-coordinate. Let us graph it. We're going to move 5 units to the right. Then, 3 units up. Since we're going to take the opposite of the x-coordinate, we're going to have 5 as negative 5. Correspondingly, we will move 5 units to the left. Since we are going to keep the y-coordinate, 3 will still be the same. We're going to move 3 units up. And the reflection of point J with the ordered pair of 5 and 3 across the y-axis will be -5 and 3. Let us work on another example so that you can fully understand the lesson. Aisha formed a colorful flower garden. One point of the garden is at 6, 3, and another point is at 5 and -3. She reflects 6, 3 across the y-axis. Then reflects 5 and -3 across the y-axis also to find the last point. What figure will the flower garden looks like? Let us draw the coordinate plane so that we can plot the points. Plotting the first point, which is 6, 3, starting from the origin, we will move 6 units to the right and 3 units up. The second point is 5 and -3, so we will move 5 units to the right and 3 units down. The first point, which is 6, 3, will be reflected across the y-axis. Therefore, we will keep the y-coordinate and we will take the opposite of the x-coordinate. The opposite of 6 is -6. Accordingly, we will move 6 units to the left and 3 units up. The second point, which is 5 and -3, will be reflected across the y-axis also. Therefore, we're going to keep the y-coordinate and we're going to take the opposite of the x-coordinate. Accordingly, the opposite of 5 is -5. So, we will move 5 units to the left and 3 units down. That will be the last point, -5 and -3. Let us connect all the points that was formed on the flower garden of Aisha so that we can identify what is the shape of the figure. If we are going to color the shape that was formed, it will look like a trapezoid. Therefore, the flower garden of Aisha will look like a trapezoid. Correspondingly, we have met our goal for today's lesson. We have learned how to graph ordered pair and we have learned how to graph reflections on the coordinate plane. To wrap it up, in graphing points on the coordinate plane, always start with the origin. If the x-coordinate is positive, we will move right, starting from the origin. But if it is negative, we will move to the left. However, if the y-coordinate is positive, we need to move up. But if it is negative, we need to move down. Accordingly, if we are going to graph points and we're going to get the reflection across the x-axis, we're going to keep the x-coordinate, but we're going to take the opposite of the y-coordinate. However, if we're going to take the reflection across the y-axis, we're going to keep the y-coordinate and take the opposite of the x-coordinate. To sum it up, if we're going to take the reflection across the x-axis, we're going to keep the x-coordinate and take the opposite of the y-coordinate. The point will move either up or down. Moreover, if we're going to take the reflection across the y-axis, we're going to keep the y-coordinate. Then, take the opposite of the x-coordinate. The points will either move left or right. It is easy, right? Just don't forget the key points that I posted here. To conclude our lesson for today, I want you to always remember what His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, may his soul rest in peace, wrote for us. Education is like a lantern which lights your way in a dark alley. Sheikh Zayed wrote and left this quote for us so that the youth will always remember the importance of education. The genuine concern of Sheikh Zayed for his nation will always remain, as this quote will handed down from generation to generation. And to encapsulate our lesson for today, I want you to always remember that life is a math equation. You cannot get the most of it if you cannot convert the negatives into positive. I do hope you have learned a lot for today's topic and you find it easy, okay? Till next math lesson, bye-bye!